A new diplomatic dance as the U.S. and Cuba take steps to resuscitate their relationship. Yet a robust Cuban culture is alive and kicking in D.C. Washington Full Circle starts right now. All eyes are on Cuba as the U.S. charts a new course to thaw a relationship long frozen in time. Meanwhile, a Cuban infusion of culture continues to heat up in D.C. Joining us is Ana Radalet from Latino Magazine and Antonio the Cuban cigar smoker, whose show's been called a cross-cultural on-air circus. On-air circus on radio. Thanks to both of you for joining us. And Anna, just to set the stage for us, tell us exactly what's happening now between U.S. and Cuba relations.
The United States and Cuba, thanks to President Obama's initiative, are moving towards normalizing relations. There's going to be another round of talks, high-level talks this week, towards reestablishing diplomatic relations, which of course were ended more than 50 years ago.
Right. So what are you hearing as far as what folks in Cuba are saying or reacting to this news? And then, Antonio, you'll tell us about what people are saying here in the district. But
they're ecstatic. I mean, there's always been in Cuba a wish to reestablish ties to the United States. But the Cuban people always wanted that. Mm-hmm. There may be a minority that didn't, but I think you'd have to say, I think you've been to Cuba, so you could probably back me up on this, that the Cuban people are very interested in reestablishing ties and forming relationships with Americans.
And there are Cuban Americans in D.C., right?
Absolutely. They are, but it's not as large as New York, Miami, and other cities. But, you know, it's funny because when you meet somebody that's Cuban in D.C., usually you're like, oh, you're Cuban, you know, so you get to stay more in touch with them. But it's definitely everybody's excited that there are steps that are being made to be able to lift embargo. So a lot of people in D.C., a lot of people that are Cubans. One of my barbers, he's a Cuban, so he's you know, he got music going on and everything. So there's excitement in the air.
Right. So this also means if this progresses as we think it will, that means opening up Cuba for tourism, for exporting, importing all things the U.S. and Cuban. Tell us what that means as far as the economy in Cuba.
Well, it would give the Cuban economy a boost, but of course the embargo would have to come down before anything else happens, and unfortunately the president can't do that. He can, you know, he's limited in the openings he can make. To take the embargo, to get rid of it would be an act of Congress. So that may be in the near future, but that's not now. But what the president has done is made it a lot easier for people to travel to Cuba. If you fit one of the categories, and you know, you'd have to be hard pressed not to. You can go now, and there's more charter companies. There's talks about regular commercial airlines to Cuba. So I think that's going to be the first thing. You're going to see a lot of Americans within the restrictions traveling to Cuba.
Right. And you're also starting to hear things like there's, I think, a boat that would travel from Miami to Cuba, but also as about the exchange, the cultural exchanges, musicians from Cuba coming to the U.S. and stuff. What are you hearing about that, and what do we have now? Are Cubans able to come to D.C. and perform?
Well, it depends. For people to come to the United States and perform and to get that pass and that visa, it's the paperwork. It's a lot of paperwork. It also takes the person in the United States that's doing the event to be able to have the right papers for it to happen. I know of groups that have tried to come to the United States, but it's not possible because either the promoter or the owner of the club or whoever's doing the event doesn't have the paperwork necessary for those groups to come over. So this makes it a little easier. You know, but you still, like she said, you have to have the proper paperwork. You have to follow some guides. People have been able to visit Cuba, but there's some guides that you have to follow before and even more now for it to happen.
And I understand that it has to be a cultural exchange. You can't just go for vacation. Americans go to Cuba right now before for vacation. It has to be some kind of cultural exchange.
It's called
Is that
purposeful.
Purposeful.
Purposeful travel or people-to-people contact. So it's sports teams. You can take, but you can get a cultural trip. You can go with a special group, to tour Cuba's nightclubs. That's considered, music culture. So it's, it kind of skirts sometimes the border of tourism, but it has to have, it can't just, you're going down to go to the beach and drink mojitos. It can't be that. Although it could include that.
Right. Okay.
And the group has to stay together the majority of the time. You have to have an itinerary when you just, like she said, you can't just say it's just me or it's just us three. Let's go. It has to be a group, and everybody in the group has to be going there for the same purpose.
Right.
The main purpose has to be the same. So if we are in the media or entertainment, so if we're going to do a special or do something about the music culture of Cuba, yes, we could get together, but everybody has to 90% of the time be on the same, at least when you give the paperwork, you have to be on the same exact itinerary.
Right. Well, there's so much more to talk about. We'll have a little more time to talk about. Anna, thanks so much for joining us. If you want to learn more about this, look at Latino Magazine. But Cuba's cigars and rum are known the world over, but the island nation has also produced a steady stream of musical talent. Washington Full Circle will be right back. Welcome back. I'm here with Antonio, the Cuban cigar smoker. And joining us now is Cuban-born pianist and composer Cesar Orozco, who's injecting his own fusion of Cuban and Venezuelan sound into the music world. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Now,
very much.
of course, that was you playing there. Describe that mixture of Cuban and Venezuelan sound and why Venezuelan.
Yeah. Well, that's basically the concept of my music is a mixing between traditional Venezuelan music, Cuban traditional music with jazz.
Okay.
And so that's the main concept of my project. That's you were playing a few minutes ago. That's my project, Cesar Orozco and Camarata Jazz. By the way, I will be playing in the Blues Alley this coming Wednesday.
Yes.
With that project. Yeah. And well, this is the kind of mixing that I'm doing right now.
Right. Now, before that, people know of you from playing a lot in Columbia Heights. You played a lot in a club up there, a restaurant up there. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I've been in the area for 2 years and a half already.
Yeah.
And I've been playing a lot around. I used to play a lot in Alice Morgan.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, many places around the DC area. I love DC.
Right.
This is crazy. I love DC.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. My older brother, he lives here also. He has been here for 6 years already. And that's why I'm here, because I was living in Venezuela.
Yes.
14 years. But I had the opportunity to come here for visiting and for working.
Right.
Few years ago.
Yeah.
And the first time I came here, I said, "Oh, I love this city." And I have family, so I have wife and kids, so it's a nice place for family.
Right.
Well, now
Yeah.
I'm here.
And you see, DC is a music town and a mixture of cultures. We were talking about that earlier, Antonio. Salsa dances, breakout dances in the streets.
Yeah, you know, everything from bachata
Yeah.
to, you know, merengue to, you know, you definitely have diversity, a lot of diversity in DC.
Yeah.
And it's the best time to be here, summertime. You know, right? So, you know, you could actually go up 14th Street. You could go Adams Morgan. You could see people actually performing outside. You know, that's one thing about the Latino culture is that we would go outside a nice day.
Totally,
We would have our cervecita, you know, our mango, and you know, it takes 3 guys to get together and have a good time.
Yeah.
And
You know?
and the city has, you know, the thing that at the same time of all those things that Antonio is telling us is that DC has a really strong jazz culture and tradition. And that combination is pretty amazing.
Right.
Because as I say, you can, and I've been, you know, playing around the area and playing my own music for the last year maybe. And when I'm playing that music with all that blend
Yes.
of music and styles, and I can see how the people react to that, and so they love the Cuban flavor, but they love the Venezuelan flavor that I'm adding to that, but the jazz element that I am incorporating to my music also. It's everything together, and people love it.
You also hear the expression "enter Afro-Cuban" from Afro-Cuban music to culture. Well, what does that mean exactly?
Afro-Cuban is more with the conga, como timbales. You know, what people understand is that you got guaguancó and cumba that came originally from Cuba. And what happened is in the 70s, it's similar to salsa. So what happened was like the Fania All-Star and the Willie Colons and them from Puerto Rico, they took the music in the early 70s and they transcended. They moved it, put up the beat and became more a salsa. But we got guaguancó, you know, you got Celia Cruz, you got so many people that come that she was the queen of salsa, you know, because she came, she had that voice. And Afro-Cuban is more from the drums. He has to deal with the congas, the bongo, you know, so it's similar, you know, and it's funny because it's similar to actually, if you look at go-go, and the DC culture, and how it comes from the congas and it comes from, y'all call it congos, we call it congas. and, you know, so that's where it comes, because it all, at the end of the day, comes from Africa. It's from that culture, from Africa, from the drums.
Right. Okay.
I think we have that in common between all the Latin American countries and United States of America.
Right.
Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very big influence.
So we have influence
very
from
big
them,
influence.
and you know, and it's there. So you can't hide that. It's there.
That's why when you go to the islands, and I don't know if you've been to the islands, people are surprised. You know, they see me like, nah, you're not Latino. There's no way you're Latino. But if you have to go to the Caribbean, you have to see the mix of Indian and Spain and Africa and how it came together. And you could, you know, I got a niece that straight hair like him and mix. And the one thing my mother always told me, they said in Cuba, is like when somebody says something to you, she would say, ¿Y tu abuela dónde está? You know, which that means, and your grandmother, where she's at, because we are so mixed. And so, you know, they mix the culture so much that, you know, people don't realize that.
So much to learn. There's still
Yes.
a lot of culture in D.C. Thanks to you both. There's a lot more to learn, but I appreciate you stopping by. Are you ready to rumba? Up next, the intoxicating rhythms of Cuba in a dance duo by D.C.'s Casaneros Dance Company. Stay with us. Among the greatest gifts Cubans brought to the U.S. are their music and their dance styles. And DC Casaneros is helping spread the joy. But first of all, tell us who you are.
I'm Naomi Washington.
And?
Courtney Slayton.
Now, first of all, tell us a little bit about DC Casaneros. What's its mission? Where does it start?
Beautiful. DC Casaneros is a resident dance company of Dance Place here in DC and Brooklyn. It was founded in 2005 by Amanda Gill and Adrian Valdivia in Havana Village Club in Adams Morgan.
And what's it all about? What do you do there?
Well, DC Casaneros is all about, we use dance to spread Cuban dance and culture by performances and giving classes out in the DMV area. So.
Okay. Now, tell us about what you're going to be dancing to today, what the dances are, what the music is.
All right. Well, we're going to start off with a dance called son, which is a more traditional dance from the 50s. And we're going to transition into rumba, which is a very Afro-Cuban based secular dance. And from that, we're going to transition into casino, which is a popular dance form that is a sort of a precursor to salsa.
Now, casino sounds like Las Vegas. Is that the same type of?
No, not quite. In Cuba, there are these clubs called Casino Deportivos. And those were social areas where people came. They did sports. They did different things like that. And they danced, casino dance.
Terrific. Well, enough of me talking. We want to see some dance. So there you go.
Los soneros que se fueron, si desde allá, desde el cielo, ellos no oyen cantar. La respuesta la imagino, casi la estoy escuchando. Sigan haciendo y creando, no se me den por vencidos.
Y ese atrevimiento y esa confianza llenaron de horror la dulce esperanza de ese sentimiento que llaman amor. Y francamente no sospechaba que en ti ronda tal decisión. Y por momentos, aunque yo no quiera, yo me voy llenando de indignación. Ese atrevimiento no te lo consiento. Y a veces hasta pienso que ha sido un alarde. Por tanto te advierto y puedo explicarte que fue de tu parte.
Se quieren robar mis letras. No, 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 no. Tú estás pensando mal, que tú te ibas a colar en mi casa y échate pa' allá, carroñero. Repíteme ese coro de nuevo. Que te ibas a colar en mi casa. Percusión. ¿Qué te pensaste? Tú estás pensando mal. Ja. Tú no me ves como vengo. Sé que te duele por dentro. Que ahora te voy muy rimago. ¿Qué te pensaste? Tú estás pensando mal. Amor, ¿qué te pensaste? Tú estás pensando mal. Mano para arriba, maíz, pero así nada más. Agua, ¿qué te pensaste? Tú estás pensando mal. Amor, ¿qué te pensaste? Tú estás pensando mal. ¿Qué te pensaste? Yo soy Maimbe.